Tina Konkin. Okay, there she is. Hello. I'm going to put you beside me here.
Okay.
There she is. Welcome.
I thought you were going to let me out of this. I could not refuse them getting me in before Christmas, being that I have a whole month to recover. I thought, oh, she'll get I wouldn't have let you down completely. I would have had Margaret here, but anyways, you said I was fine with my glasses. So here I am.
You look extra cute, Tina. Extra cute. You just look like you're like the star that just like, no, this is my glasses.
Hollywood right here. Hollywood right here. And I got my little Christmas shirt on, so it kind of takes away from my eyes. Just look at my trees.
Oh, well, you look very cute, but that was the laser, right? You had the laser?
No, I didn't. I had to have, like, my eyelids were causing me not see, so they were over. And I had it years ago. Like, I had to have it done when I was in my 30s, but it's a real genetic thing. My parents had it, both of them. And so what happened is the eyelid really, and especially first thing in the morning, I can't do anything because I can't see. So I was able to, it was pretty bad. I hid it pretty good with makeup and ice. Yeah. But when they said get me in before Christmas, I thought, let's do it. So my eyes are actually just bruised a bit. It wasn't, it wasn't a big surgery. It's just leaves a bit of bruising.
No, you look very cute.
Thank
you chose a good, I like the shape too. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah. Well, just so you know, my sunglasses are worth more than my face right now. They are Katy Perry sunglasses because I'm friends with her mom. And so her mom said Katie was giving these away, and I said, I'll take them.
I'll take them. Just more than my face. Oh my gosh.
Into good use today.
Okay, well, Tina, thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't let you out of it today, but I really appreciate that you did agree to still come on. And let me just introduce a little bit of who you are, and we're going to have a really good talk. I know we will.
It does tell you I'm not that vain, because most people would not agree to do this. So I didn't let vanity stop me from helping somebody today.
Oh, I love it. Your serving heart. Yeah, you see my Shannon Bowman giving you a heart there. Okay, who is Tina? Tina Konkin. She is many things, but just a little bit of her bio. She's an internationally acclaimed author, marriage and relationship expert, speaker and counselor to the stars. She has over probably 20 plus years of counseling marriages. She's the founder of the R3 Lifeline. She has been a resource for the Dr. Phil show. And really the passion comes down to your passion, and I'm sure you'll share on it, but just to heal the brokenhearted, right? To give them a clear path to live the life they've always imagined with the fulfillment that they never knew was possible. You've had many journeys, and I'm just so thrilled to have you on as you share. It was so hard to narrow down what do we share on, and then I listened to that podcast and I was like, oh man, that we're gonna get into some really beautiful stories from your past and journey. So welcome here, Tina.
Thank you, Sarah. I am so glad that you accept people exactly where they're at, and this is my part of my journey today. And I am really thrilled right from when you first reached out, from a good friend of both of ours, and what you're doing to help people realize there's no shame in needing help and in our beautiful brokenness. So thank you. It's an honor for me.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm honored. We could pull out of so many things, but what we really, as I shared, I was like, wow, this is sharing a little bit of your past, obviously, where your backstory of, just in a nutshell, kind of where you came from, and then into having children, and that heart piece that kind of came into play with your daughter and stuff. You think we should just jump right in?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I think I want to intro that because I don't want people to just think, I was rejecting my daughter or she was a mistake or I didn't want her. I don't want that heard. What I really want heard is that whatever we don't resolve from our own past brokenness, from our own past wounds, will come back to haunt us. I mean, I always think of, buried emotions are not dead emotions. And so something could trigger them and they would, resurface themselves. And I think we call those triggers nowadays. And of course, being more aware of mental illness and different things, we're much smarter about woundedness, and it's no longer something we need to carry shame about. We no longer have to hide our past, our childhood, the things that happened, the things that, and it doesn't have to be big stuff. Like, I think of some of the stories. I have been doing this for over 30 years. And 20 years sounded better because it doesn't make me sound as old, but it has been over 30. And, it just to realize that what we saw, heard, and experienced growing up can be something really small. It could be a teacher saying, you'll never amount to anything. I had a friend that their teacher said that in the days where dyslexia wasn't recognized. And so the teacher just said, buddy, if you don't learn to read, you're never going to amount to anything. Well, that stuck with that little boy to the point that he never graduated. He never went past the first year of high school, became a bricklayer until one day he was at a Billy Graham. He wasn't, a religious man, but he was 18 years old. He went to a Billy Graham crusade and he heard Billy Graham say, every man was created the same under God. And when he heard that, he thought, wait a minute, if I'm the same as everybody else, that means I'm not stupid. And God doesn't create stupid, And so he shares his whole story. And I learned a lot of, I heard this story in my youth and then I met him and, it just meant a lot to me that one revelation, one point of healing can change everything. He's now one of the biggest entrepreneurs, one of the wealthiest. And, his wealth is in raising youth entrepreneurs that think they're never going to amount to anything. So that is what he's committed his life to. And I look at all he's done and blessed because truth replaced a lie. And that's what happened to me. My truth was this: as a very little girl, I heard the words, I should have never been born. Right. So that brings with it this huge rejection. If your own parents feel you should have never been born or your mom should have never birthed you, then that's the truth you carry with you, not always looking for acceptance. And so I was very performance oriented. Well, I wanted, like Peter Daniels, the man I was just talking about, I wanted to make a difference in all those children that felt like me. So I went into children's ministry. I met my husband while I was a keynote speaker. I think I shared with you I'm a ventriloquist, and that's what I did in children's ministry, to make children laugh. My whole heart was about making children laugh and feel wanted, feel worthy. And so that's what I was doing. And actually, when I had kids, we were in kids ministry. That's how my husband and I met, was at a kids camp. And then we got married and continued with children's ministry and then youth ministry. And then I go and have my own children, which was a dream, because I was going to be that mom. And here my child, my oldest, my daughter, turns 8 years old. And I begin feeling rejection towards her. Like I'm pushing her away. And at first it wasn't too noticeable. I just thought she irritated me. And at first I just thought, why can't you just do what you're told, or stop your whining, but I wasn't the same mom that I had been. And I just thought, oh, she's starting to turn that age, And But then I started noticing the feelings got deeper, like they were truly feelings of rejection. And I didn't like her anymore. But no problems with my 5-year-old son. She was 8, he was 5. And I did pretty well in hiding it, only I couldn't hide it very well from my husband. And he now is becoming a marriage related, because he was between a little girl that was getting hurt and a mom that felt, what's wrong with
a little girl that was getting hurt and a mom that felt, what's wrong with her? Like,
oh, do you hear that feedback?
oh, do you hear that feedback?
Yeah, so every like 20 minutes this will happen, but it's already over, I think. I don't know why it does that.
Okay, that was
Okay,
weird.
Yeah.
that was weird.
Yeah.
Oh, still
So-
hot.
Still hot.
For you it is?
I can hear myself talking back.
I don't know why every now and then. Now it's good, yeah. Okay, I don't know. It's like a glitch and then it's done. Okay, here we go.
Okay. So, you know, it started affecting the marriage, and I decided to go for help. Now, this is where it gets really tricky. I went to a counselor, and I got found out because my little girl went overnight to my sister's. We had children the same age, and she was very close to her cousin, and she asked my sister, she said, why does mommy only love my brother and not me? And you know how many women I have helped, or parents for that matter, that say they don't favor one child over the other. So then there was that shame too, because I knew I was favoring one over the other. And there's many of us that have that one child is more favored because, so I'll explain why I favored my son. He reminded me of my dad, of his dad. I loved his dad. I loved his dad's personality. I loved his dad carefreeness, right? She reminded me of me. I didn't like me. Yeah. That's the part of her I was rejecting. The part that was snooty and arrogant and I got to be right, you know, and it's my way or the highway. She was starting to develop those characteristics when she turned about 8. So all the things I didn't like about me, she was exhibiting. Does that make sense?
Total sense. Absolutely. It's that mirror.
That mirror. And I avoided mirrors. So that was the other thing. Like how you see me today, besides my sunglasses, I was an overweight child. And that started when I was 8 years old. I started using food for comfort. Well, I don't know if it was a made up thing, because when I look back at pictures of when she was 8 now, she was not overweight. But for some reason, I must have seen her have a second cookie, or I must have seen her sneaking a cookie, which all kids do. But I started seeing the mirror. Oh no, she's going to become overweight. She's going to be sitting at home while everybody else is dating at 16. And I didn't want to relive my pain. So I wasn't rejecting my daughter. I was rejecting pain that I had experienced that was not resolved. So you see what I say, when things aren't resolved, they come back. So I'm looking in the mirror at all the pain she's going to face in the next 10 years.
Right.
And I can't deal with it because I buried my pain, right? I don't want to deal with it in somebody else now. So having said all that, once I got found out, my sister confronted me. I decided I've got to go to a counselor. And I did. And this guy was recommended top Christian counselor in the Vancouver area, Western Canada, and went to him. And his first session was a little bit uncomfortable. By the second session, I said, this isn't working for me. I came here because I'm very conscious of what I'm doing to my little girl. And she doesn't deserve that. That's what I need to fix. You keep going into my past. My past is taken care of. As a matter of fact, the Bible says in Philippians 4:8 that my past is in the past. And Jesus said, not looking to the past. This is the Apostle Paul talking. And he's got instructions from Jesus. Now, we don't want to mess with Jesus here. You know, I'm telling the counselor.
Scripture to your counselor.
And he's listening with much respect. And I said, it says we're to press forward. So I said, let's press forward, sir. And he said, well, you know, I don't know if I can help you. And he said, but you let me know how that works out for you. The fact that you don't want to look back. And I went another year because now I've been fired. My counselor won't see me anymore. So, like, okay, here we go. So now this goes another year and things just get worse. Now I can't even sit next to her. I felt her trying to invade my space. Like if we had a family movie night, she tried to come sit next to me and I would get up and go to the bathroom. And then I'd come back and sit somewhere else on the couch, you know, little things like that. And it just, but I still took care of her physical needs. You know, I was still a responsible parent, just no cuddling or, you know, none of that, no nurturing. So about a year later, and that brings it right up to present day, we went to a program done by Dr. Phil. His company and his partner came to Vancouver and had an experiential program for 5 days. And my sister said, I think this would be good. Let's do this. They were coming in from Texas. Of course, I was scared to death. Waco had just happened. And I thought, who are these people? And is there going to be Kool-Aid there? You know, I don't want any Kool-Aid. I'm not drinking their Kool-Aid. But anyways, it happened to be the most transformational 5 days of my life. And I'll never forget and I made my husband come because I was scared because they were from Texas. So I was scared to go and by myself. So he came and we sat through that and so you got to understand that from a Christian perspective, my husband and I never had your typical born again experience in the sense of, you know, I left the streets and I left the old life and we were raised in the church. So I accepted Jesus, as real as I know that was. I didn't get off drugs to accept Jesus, you know, like I was 5 years old, but it was very real to me. But I was 5 years old the first time I asked Jesus to come into my heart. So was my husband. So we've never had this testimony that, you know, we were this and now we're this. So for us, that weekend was the most transformational thing we'd ever experienced. And we looked at each other and we thought, what if this is how people feel when they get born again, like from an old life? Because that's the only thing you compare it to, other people's experience, right? Because we actually transformed. We felt like 1,000 pounds came off us. And that basically was honestly through forgiveness, right? And then understanding how the past that's not resolved impacts, and understanding Philippians 4:8, that's what leaving the past behind is actually dealing with the past. So it doesn't affect your present and your future decisions, right? My decisions were always made through the filter of rejection. And so when I was able to deal with that and the forgiveness of the people I needed to forgive that had rejected me as a child, I suddenly was able to accept my own daughter, realizing it was never her. It was me I was rejecting. I always knew it was never her. I just didn't know what it was. Right. Once I faced seeing that it was the pain that I was rejecting, her future pain, not the pain that had happened yet, just her future pain. So it was like, you said it right spot on, looking in the mirror.
Wow.
So, and we left there that Sunday evening at the end of the program, and we were pastoring at the time. We were children's pastor at the time. Talk about ironic. But we left that program that night and looked at each other and said, this is what we want to do for the rest of our lives. Yeah, is heal the brokenhearted.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's that in a nutshell, how this journey for me started. Of course, you've mentioned I was an author, and that came after there was infidelity in our marriage. So that too was healed. And that's where the R3 came from. And you know, the reveal, rewrite, renew. We had to reveal, you know, what baggage we had brought into our marriage that then led us to disconnect and infidelity.
Yeah. Let's just back up because it was such a beautiful story. We had wanted to talk about it. The story, the two pieces, the math story of your mom was a very powerful piece to potentially talk about. And the how you were able to, after the math story, the visualization of your mom as a 16-year-old. Would you talk on those two things, and then we'll move into the...
So what I discovered in the 5 days, intensive healing that we went through was one of the exercises that we still do to this day is we call it your storyboard. So every person has a story, and your podcast, is this a podcast that we're talking here? Yeah. Is this what we're, summit? Yeah. So your summit is so beautifully, and your website is so beautifully put because you call it Broken Beautifully, right? Or Beautifully Broken. Mm-hmm. Help me out here.
Well, there's a few, but it's Broken Beautiful You is the summit. Yeah.
Okay. So Broken Beautifully is so well put because we are all broken, and it can be a small thing or a big thing. So what we do is we help people, just like I was helped, identify their story of where they were broken, right? And like I said, it could be the same story of just Peter Daniels grew up with really awesome parents, really good people, and not religious people, but really good people. And there was no trauma in his upbringing, but the one teacher changed the whole trajectory of his life. So you can take somebody who grows up in a great home, and one little thing, one lie, that's all. I always say that's all the devil needs is one lie, and it can change everything. So mine was a traumatic, upbringing. So, but we take you through this storyboard. So my storyboard, some of the things were easy to write. What I saw, heard, and experienced is basically that was traumatic, or that was hurtful, or that was disappointing. It doesn't have to be all big stuff. It can be everything along the way. And then good stuff too. We all have some good things in our story. And we had to, we got a big sheet of paper, and we were given some time to go sit alone, and we had to come and, write down our experiences. So when I did that, some things that popped in there were very, just I knew it. It's the story of my life. My mom rejected me, and she didn't want a baby at the time, and she got married at 16, and just to get out of the house because she was so abused, and then she rejected getting pregnant right away. So that I knew all that. I also knew I was molested as a kid by a couple of uncles, and I knew I was bullied when we left Belgium, because I was born in Belgium and we came to Canada, actually just 700 miles north of Winnipeg, in Thompson. That's where we landed when we first came, and I was really bullied there because I didn't speak English, and the kids had never seen a French-speaking kid. You think now we're bilingual, not so in Thompson. So I got laughed at a lot, and so there was trouble, and I left my grandparents, which were a big part of the love bank I had, were my grandparents in Belgium. So all this stuff was coming out. That was all simple. But the story that you're referring to that came up that just shocked me was this story of, I knew what it took to please my mom. That was not a new thing either. So on my storyboard, I had won a math competition. I was in the 3rd or 4th grade, and I won a math competition. And I knew one thing that I got approval for was when I did well in school. So I always I used to tell my husband, thank God I was smart, or else I would have been really dead in the water, but that's where I got approval from my mom. That was so important to her, my academic. And that's the only time she spent with me too, because anytime I needed help with homework, she was there for me. And so I remember, she stayed up with me, and we studied, and I got everything right. But there's one equation, Sarah, that I just couldn't seem to get it. No matter how many times we went back to it, this one equation I kept getting wrong. And she finally said, listen, it's way past your bedtime. Everything else you've got right. Don't worry about that problem. Forget about it. And so I started crying. I said, no, I have to get it perfect. I want to win the ribbon. So she spent more time with me till I finally got it right. And then we went to bed. So the next day, sure enough, I got the highest score. I got the ribbon. I got the certificate. My name was up on the board. And I could not wait to get home with the ribbon around my neck and my certificate. And I got 99 out of 100. That's what was on my score, you know, on my test. And so I ran home with all of that, and I got exactly what now I remembered this story as I'm writing it down. Okay. But all of a sudden, when I go back into the reality of the story, I see what happened next. So in my mind's eye, as I'm imagining that story and I'm feeling that good feeling, I see my mom smiling and I see everything I wanted from my mom. But then the next moment, it's like everything dropped. And I saw that my mom saw the red X, the one wrong that I got. And she looked at me, this 8-year-old little girl's face, and she said, how could you have got that wrong? Now, that came out of nowhere. Most of us don't think back unless somebody sits you down and say, let's go through your story. You know, what did you experience when you were 8? And, you know, we don't think about those things. It kind of get, I mean, yeah, when you're molested or big things like that happen, of course, those are easy to capture in your, but things that happen at school, or maybe a kid laughed at you. Like, I didn't remember the kids laughing at me outside the bathroom because I went into the boys' bathroom instead of the girls' bathroom, not till I did that exercise. And it's amazing now, I've been doing this for 30 years, how many people discover that. And that's what hurt them more than the big trauma. Because when you go to counseling, you go for the big trauma. Yeah. It's the little traumas that affect you on a daily basis, right? And so I remember seeing that and see a belief system that entered my mind in that moment, that little girl's mind, was if 99 out of 100 isn't good enough, nothing will ever cut it. So now you connect that into my marriage, Sarah, and my husband and I, this was our fight. Every time it would end with my husband saying, is anything ever good enough for you? Are your children ever going to be good enough for you? Am I ever, like, is there ever anything that you don't criticize? You know, we get 9 out of 10, but you see the one. They clean up the kitchen, but you see the one cup that's left in the sink. And so it's not good enough, you know? And I used to always think, that's a lazy man's talk. And now you're raising our children to, oh, it's good enough. That's how I, until I found that. And then I thought, oh my gosh, that's where not good enough came in from. The 90 out of 100. Well, the nice part of the story is they don't leave you there. And neither do we when you come through the program. They help me work through that. So now it's not about blaming your parents. It's about, and I always, you know, share with people, look, when we go into your past, it's not so that we give you an excuse for who you are today or how you act or your behavior. The only reason we look at your past is so we can, and you can, gain an explanation. Your past offers you an explanation of why you are triggered, why things are reactionary for you instead of a response, right? So when I was able to look at that, that's where my mom's story comes in, where they took me through a forgiveness process of my mom. And the first thing, and of course, growing up in the church, we all know forgiveness. If you don't forgive people, you can't be forgiven. And so it was all more condemnation than it was good. Right. And I remember them saying these powerful words, and I've used the same words on people that can't forgive, especially a parental role. You don't have to forgive your mom. I looked at them and I said, I don't? No. What your mom did is unforgivable. The fact that your mom told you you should have never been born, or 99 out of 100 wasn't good enough, isn't something you should have to forgive a mother for. Now they had my interest, you know, and I'm going, really? and they said, let's look at who your mom was and how she grew up. So tell me about your mom when she was pregnant with you. And they asked me to look around the room and pick someone that could be my mom so that I could actually talk to her, you know? And I picked the youngest person in the room that looked like they could be 16 maybe, you know, and they put her in front of me. And then all of a sudden, instead of looking at her, I closed my eyes and I saw a 16-year-old girl. And I can still get teary over that. When I saw that 16-year-old girl, and they said, if you see her, what is she trying to tell you? And all of a sudden I saw a picture. I'm not standing. If I was standing, I would be holding my stomach. But I saw my mom, 16, holding her stomach, rocking back and forth like this. And all of a sudden, she's crying to God and saying, God, please not now. God, please not now. I cannot be a mom to this precious child right now. I can't do it. I will not be a good mom. When I heard those words, I suddenly forgave a 16-year-old child that had been abused herself and that just found an exit plan. And my dad fell in love with her, and he was one of their boarders, you know, and he was, 8 years older than her, but he was so sweet to her. He would take her to ball games, and, her parents loved him. And, so that's how the marriage happened. And they got pregnant right away. So it was like she was just crying out, not now, And when I saw that, I then had compassion for her. And once you have compassion, you can forgive. It takes compassion. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But, that's the power of, first of all, setting people free, that they don't have to forgive. We put it this way. We put it, you don't have to forgive what they did. But I put it even in a greater way. Jesus actually said, forgive them, adults. Let's get this right. Forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. So when you look at any perpetrator, when you look at anyone who has hurt you, is that what they would have done had they not been broken? Or can we be like Christ and saying, they obviously didn't know what they were doing. They should have, because they're an adult. So don't forgive the adult. And that's why that trainer said, let's look back at what tools your mom was given to raise a child. Well, the only rule she was given was abuse, right? Because that's how she was raised. And so it doesn't matter who the person is that hurt you. In order to get compassion for them, Jesus made an excuse for those people that beat him. He said, they don't know what they're doing. They're not in their right mind. They think they're doing what's right. They're doing what their boss is telling them to do. Right? So if we are able to separate for no lack of a better word, if we're able to separate the sin from the sinner, and we're able to look, with couples too, this is how I counsel them. Let's separate the problem from the person. Let's not call them an addict. Let's look at the alcohol as the problem and the person as in weakness in order to resist. So they need our support. Let's look at anger as the problem, not the person. Don't identify their identity as an alcoholic. Identify the alcohol is in control now, and that's what we need to deal with. So let's fight the problem, not the person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's so powerful, Tina. I know the other one, which I think was a powerful analogy to help people visualize, is the garbage, the leaking garbage.
You really do remember all my stories, don't you?
Yes.
This really happened. This really happened. My husband was a fisherman and he loved fresh fish and fresh crab, but he loved going fishing for it, you know? And so he'd been fishing and he came home with fish and we made the fish and it was all good. And we had fresh fish for dinner. And then of course he cleaned the fish, threw it all in the garbage and then emptied the garbage and took it out, you know, and it stank. But within about 48 or so hours, I said, Ron, the garbage still stinks. He goes, it's a brand new bag in there. And he goes, I took that garbage with the fish out. I said, well, did you throw any other fish stuff in there? He goes, no. So I said, okay, well, so then of course I don't trust a man. Well, that's another issue. I don't trust him with cleanliness. So I thought, well, I'm going to empty the garbage myself. So I re-empty the garbage, the clean bag. And I put a bit of sanitizer in there, you know, and then re-put the bag. Of course, it's this bucket right in there. And it's the kind of garbage disposal that is in a drawer that you pull out, right? Yeah. So I pull out that thing, I wipe it out, sanitize it, you know, and put another new garbage bag in. Well, sure enough, and put deodorizer in. Well, sure enough, you know, 24 hours goes by again and the stench starts again lightly. I thought, well, something's really wrong here. And I thought, well, I know I cleansed it with Lysol, so it just must be me. So then my husband put something in the garbage. He goes, honey, you're right. He doesn't know I went behind him and micromanaged, right? 2 days before. And he goes, babe, you're right. And I said, about what? And he goes, the smell. Of course, I don't want to, you know, confess that I redid it. And I said, I know, right? So I still make him think he's the problem. He goes, I better empty this bag again. So 3 times we did this. And finally, I said to him, I confess. And I said, honey, there's something really wrong because that smell keeps coming back. So of course, he takes out the 2 buckets and then notices on the metal part underneath the cabinet. So it's the cabinet now, right? He sees like this light stain and he goes, found the problem. And I said, what? He said, we have a leaky garbage can and it's gone on to the cabinet. So that's what kept coming back up. Yeah. So this is what I share with our hearts. When we have garbage in there that we're pushing down, it doesn't get rid of the stench. And unfortunately, when we have experiences that no matter how much we cover up with it, no matter how much we go to counseling, like I went to counseling, if you're only dealing with today's problem, not yesterday's unresolved, you're like that garbage can.
Yeah.
The hole is underneath. The hole is in the root, right? Not in the top. I can make look at how good I made myself look today. Just a pair of sunglasses hides all my sins, right? Hides all the little bruises under there from the surgery. Right? But I'm having to hide it with darkness. And that's what we do with our heart. We hide it instead of going to the root of our brokenness. Once you get to the root, you get rid of the, you know, once we can't clean the bottom of the cabinet, the smell never came back.
Right. Right.
That was it. Done. It was clean.
Yeah. That's such a powerful... Yeah, all of it. Such a powerful analogy.
Sarah, I've got a new one now. I can cover up with my glasses.
I know.
And I've got the glasses of this woman. How dare she not let me get away with not coming on camera? She just told me to cover it up.
Hey, I said you're going to look cute. Come on.
I'm cute. So I can make myself look cute all the way through. But next time you see her in about 2 weeks, you're going to see the real me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The real you. Yeah. And look at you using your glasses as a metaphor in your speech today.
There you go. There you couldn't have had that without this. Yeah.
Right? It's interesting, the theme. I don't know, those like, there's a few of you that have been on all day. You can see this theme, right? It's just like that you got that inner work. It has to be. You cannot get away from doing the work. That surface level does not last. The stench comes back, that inner child healing, like the power of your story of like that is, it's just so emotional of seeing your mother in that. Oh,
yeah,
man, that's powerful. I know, I mean, there's so much, like, yes, as I said, I remember all your stories, just like there's so many that.
Before we get off that mother thing, I don't know
Yeah.
how many mothers you have got listening online.
Yeah.
He has been given the responsibility of our children. So when we don't do the inner work, our DNA is being passed on to them. My child, who was not rejected at birth, now was being transferred onto her, that generational thing. So if we don't cut it, it didn't start with me, but it can stop with me. Yes. That's my thing. It did not start, this rejection root did not start with me, but it can stop with me. So that I don't pass it on to my children and then my grandchildren.
Yes.
So that's our responsibility as parents, as mothers, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's because it's interesting that the age, I hear a lot of commonality with a lot of, when you, maybe you too, I don't know, there's something about the age of like 8, 9, and 10 for some reason. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of change. And it's also the ages that you remember.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. That time. You know, before 8 or before 7, you don't remember much, you know? And I mean, it has to be really traumatic for you to remember.
I mean, it has to be really traumatic for you to remember. But
yeah.
Yeah.
You're at the echo. We'll just hold on a second. Just missed what you last said. But yeah, that's right. Okay, that makes sense to me. So that's when we start to remember. So that is the commonality of that age.
Yes. I think it stopped. I can't hear myself echoing.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's so much power in, I really like the freedom that how they got you with, like, look, you don't have to forgive your mom, but it's like, what?
That just set me free, because all of a sudden, because what happened was all my religious belief systems fell off at that point. Because the only thing I'd heard all my life, if you don't forgive those that have hurt you, God can't forgive you. If you don't forgive your brother, then God. So there was a lot of condemnation. And I did sincerely, with my whole heart, think all those years I was forgiving my mom. But see, true forgiveness is known by when you don't feel the pain of what they did anymore, because compassion has come in. Right? So I didn't feel that pain for my mom anymore. I felt compassion for her. Right? Now, also forgiveness, especially, you know, when we talk about other relationships, if my mom was still abusive,
right,
that wouldn't mean reconciliation, but forgiveness is not an option. Same with my husband. When we went through infidelity, same thing. You know, if he had continued to be unfaithful, reconciliation would have not been a possibility, but forgiveness is never an option, because forgiveness is for my freedom.
Right.
You know, it's for my well-being.
Yeah, because you said like the prison key, you made reference to that when we talked, right?
Yeah, the prison key is in my hand, and the key is forgiveness.
Right.
So.
And you, I know we didn't have time to get into your marriage story, but you, I mean, can you share just a little bit of what, because I know you're coming to Vancouver, you put on these intensives, which that's what you did with Dr. Phil. And now, can you just explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, can I really do a quick promo though? You just mentioned Vancouver. So it'll be years, because we work mostly in California, but it'll be years, probably about a year before COVID started. Then COVID happened. January 13th to 15th, we are going to have a class in Vancouver, and I think you're going to advertise it, but I have some really good news that you don't know about yet. A sponsor out of the blue decided, you know, that our workshops, 3-day workshops, are $1,500 US. So that's probably $10,000 Canadian.
Sadly, yes.
But anyways, a Canadian sponsor just sponsored the class so that we only have to charge couples $200 and $150 for individuals. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But the class is filling up real quick. So I don't know if you're going to put up our website, but on our website, there's how to get on there, and there's the promo code so that they can put in the code so they get away with, $200 US instead of $15.90. So
wow, I should put it in the chat. I'm going to put it on the email, but tell me the website on here. I'll put it in.
Relationshiplifeline.org. And it's January 13th to 15th. And it's couples or individuals for personal healing, both. So what happened in our marriage was, again, we weren't getting to the root of things. And, we just kept thinking we were good. And then we'd have these blowouts but we were good, and Jesus and the cross, takes care of everything, but we weren't dealing with roots. And then at a very vulnerable time in my husband's life that I didn't know how to be there. I didn't know how to nurture, his mom was dying, and I just checked out. I just really checked out. And I asked my friend, a very good friend, because she'd experienced the death of her parents, to please be there for him. And vulnerability meets opportunity, and you've got an affair. So no, it wasn't intentional on anybody's part. And that is the book that I wrote, The Other Woman, and the book is called How God Used the Other Woman. They can get that on Amazon. It's an awesome book. And you definitely don't have to go through infidelity to get so much out of the book. The book is all about healing and personal healing. Some of the things I've been talking about here today, just how do you heal and how do you heal in marriage? Not just from betrayal, but just from those deep-seated things and the things we brought into marriage that we don't deal with or don't know how to deal with, Let me grab just so they can see it. Let me just, there you go. That's the book, How God Used the Other Woman. And it was published. They heard my story, Focus on the Family, heard my story, and they published the book. So it's their book, but they can get it on Amazon. They can get it on Focus, and it's cheaper. If you get it from me, I charge you for shipping. But if you're Amazon Prime, you don't pay for shipping. So give people the best deal they can get. But so, I have to charge for shipping, unfortunately. So the beauty of our healing is what developed the R3 Lifeline, which is what we do now. And it's really to reveal those things that we have buried, what we saw, heard, and experienced that have made us broken. Our triggers, identifying all that through our storyboard, and then going through the process of healing. We walk you through that. So it's very experiential. And then the rewrite, which is the R2, that really is about what I shared with you about my mom, rewriting this. I saw my mom as a 16-year-old doing that. But you know what else I saw? The 99 out of 100. I suddenly saw my mom in that story. That's what rewrite means. I was able to see my mom not say, how could you have got that wrong? My mom was actually feeling sorry for, see, now I'm healing a child through an adult brain, right? Remember, I'm in Dr. Phil's program. My adult brain is looking back on what happened. So now my adult mind sees reality. And the reality is, when I heard my mom say, how could you have got that wrong? It wasn't a scowl on her face. It was compassion on her face, because she remembered I cried the night before. Guess which problem I got wrong? The one that I wouldn't go to bed. So she was saying, oh my gosh, you poor thing. How could you have got that one wrong? The difference is, though, that she noticed it. I didn't know which one I got wrong. I was just so overwhelmed with joy that I got the highest mark. Nobody came close to me. Right. I didn't even have competition in that thing. But she saw it and felt sorry for me because I made her stay up. And I cried. I wouldn't let her go to bed. I wouldn't let me go to bed until I got it right. So when I re-looked at it from the perspective of an adult brain,
right.
Well, that wasn't hard to forgive either.
Oh.
She just looked at me like, but I could, and that's why I say it takes an adult mind to do the inner child work.
Right.
Because you've got to be able to rewrite. So rewrite about how you see it today. You can't change facts though. Even if she had said it with a scowl, I still would have had to forgive her, and I would have had to rewrite the story. I would have had to say, you know what? My mom suffers from mental illness, or my mom was sick, or my mom was 20 years old, or I would have had to find a way to find compassion. But what I can tell you is I have to rewrite my stories, no matter what, in order to find compassion. So that's the R2. And then the R3 is to renew. And when we renew, it's about making yesterday better than it ever was before. And R3, the renew, is about tomorrow. It's about our future. It's about no longer letting your past determine your destiny. Right. That's right. Yeah.
Reveal, rewrite, and renew. Yeah.
And that's what we do. And that, by the way, I was featured on the Today Show. They came and filmed a whole Relationship Lifeline that we're talking about, that we're doing in Vancouver. They came and filmed the whole thing because they saw me on Gene Simmons, and then they saw me on OC Housewives, and they thought what I did was just unreal. And so they came and filmed the whole thing, and then they featured it, but they wanted me to do a soundbite.
Oh.
A soundbite to advertise, you know, what they were going to be doing and showing on their show. And so I said, I can't tell you what I do in 30 seconds. It's 30 hours. Like we're in there 35 to 30 hours. I can't, you know. She goes, well, figure it out, because in about an hour, I need a 30-second bite. So I tell you, I have never dove into the Holy Spirit so quickly. And I said, Lord, give me something. And he gave me the R3. And I was able to do that. This is what we do in 3 days. R3.
There it is.
Right? That's what we do. And that became our signature program.
R3.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but if anyone else in the chat has been blessed, I've been seeing that there's been connection and definitely deep connection in the chat with what you've shared, Tina. It's such an honor. I'm just, every single speaker that's come on today, because time is so valuable. And so for you to give your time to speak out, and I know, like, I was getting so emotional there, the Spirit, you guys feel that? Like there was just there's anointing on you, and you can feel it when you speak, and healing when you speak. And you're still willing to share and take, like, you know, you're a grandma, and here you are just serving, and it's just so beautiful with your fashionable glasses on.
Yes, thank you. My Katy Perry glasses.
Your Katy Perry glasses.
But listen, I do, you know, when we were preparing for this summit, you asked me if there was anything I could give to your listeners. And I think we came up with something, but this is a gift I never thought I could give them. I'm giving them $1,400 US because of a donor in Canada, a very sweet donor in Canada. So I'm giving them $1,400 US to attend a healing weekend. That's a gift.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So we have it.
You're coming, Sarah, aren't you?
I can't. I'm in a coaching course. It's like exactly that.
We've got other classes. You already told me you're coming.
We have what?
I said we have other classes. You don't have to come to that one.
I thought that's the only one you're at, though.
Oh no, that's in California. I'm here January and February in California. I'm in Canada in January, and then I don't know past that where.
Okay.
So in Canada in January, I'm there. In California in January, I'm here on the 27th, and February something, they can see it on the website, I'm here. I just don't know past March what my schedule is.
I see. So one of them I'm coming to, just not the Vancouver one. I can't. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Ah, lovely. It's been an honor. It's been a blessing. I really believe that God spoke. He definitely has to me yet again is this the third time we've talked? He takes nuggets and I think speaks so uniquely and individually to everybody. And thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your stories and allowing that to ripple out, right? It ripples out into where God needs it to go, into people's hearts. And so we just honor you for that, Tina. And maybe through these, there'll be some attendees at some R3 intensives. Oh man, I want to put myself through it. Definitely. I just think there's.
And it's nice because it's small. We never take more than, usually our classes are between 24 and 30 people. We never go over 40. So it keeps, the 3 days pretty intimate.
Yes. Well, we are sending you off with lots of love, and hopefully you will be feeling right back to your snappy self right away.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, send some love in the chats, guys. I know I'm seeing already. I don't know if you can see the chat too, Tina, as you're heading out. Definitely.
I can't. I have problems reading right now, but I'll get my assistant.
You want me to?
Yeah, you could read some of them to me.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, there was some, I'm fighting back tears right now because this is so real for me right now. I've struggled with my relationship with my oldest daughter. I identified with that, Naomi, and I realized it's because we're so much alike. So yes, for a while, I also did that with my mom, said Shannon. They knew the feeling of never being good enough, said Naomi. Powerful. And how taking care of ourselves isn't selfish, it's our responsibility. We have to. Yes, healing that inner child, healing the traumas, releasing, forgiving, breaking the generational traumas. So there are lots of things pulled from this for sure. And then reveal, rewrite, renew. Love this. Thank you. Exclamation points. Yep. God spoke to me through Tina's sharing. Thank you so much. Well, lots pulled.
God blesses my heart. That makes the glasses and all my non-vanity all worth it.
Oh man. Well, much love, and we will be in contact. I will be seeing you sometime in that intensive.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Honestly, Sarah, what you're doing is going to be, just from the comments you're getting, I think you're on a track that God is really going to use your brokenness and your healing. And it's all for God's glory, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Our message is God's message.
Our message is God's message. Yes. And I also heard the other one, our history is his story.
That's right. That's a good one. Okay. God bless.
Okay. Take an unpin you here.
Thank you for being on there. What was her name?
That is Shannon Bowman. That's my mom. I said you guys are probably the same age.
Hi, Mom. Love you guys. Thank you. All right.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Whew. Wow. That is a wrap, everybody. Man. I knew Tina was going to be good. That brought all the tears for me. I don't know about you guys. That was powerful. It's just, how does God take one thing and speak so individually to all of us in different ways? It's just, he's so creative. I know, God is so good. He speaks healing and life, and man, that was so powerful. I'm just so thankful that all these speakers came on today, and I hope you guys all got something from it. I really hope that my husband and I